Alright, I just turned it on, so now people are going to hear what you're saying.
Okay, good evening, everybody. My name is Larry Lichstein. I'm speaking to you this evening from Morgantown, West Virginia. We're going to be live streaming the Morgantown Scratch Trio League, a $4,500 first place prize fund. This is a 15-week league. So the winners this evening will be getting $1,500 per person. And I have a very special guest coming up here to join me shortly. He really needs no introduction, but literally since 1985, he has dominated the bowling scene for over 32 years. He has 102 PBA titles, National Tour, Senior Tour, Senior Regionals, Regular Regionals. A 7-time Bowler of the Year, and obviously a man that's rewritten the record books, not only because of his durability to be a factor to win any event for over 32 years. Obviously, the greatest bowler of all time, Walter Ray Williams. He'll be sitting with me shortly. Hey, how you doing?
What Brian got? Going to my office.
Cool.
Good job on this leg this year.
This is a summer league here at Suburban Lanes with added money. It's a scratch league, no handicap. We're focusing very heavily on scratch bowling here in Morgantown. We feel it is a necessity to divisionalize the bowlers with an A, B, and C league. It's a triples league. And the most important thing for us here is and I don't say this to knock handicap leagues, but we do not want to reward the bowlers for failure. You're on your own in this league. It's you against your opponent. And we watch the averages very carefully to make sure that the bowlers are categorized properly. Well, okay, sitting next to me, ladies and gentlemen, again, is the great Walter Ray Williams. Walter Ray, first of all, I want to congratulate you on your great career and welcome you to Morgantown.
Thank you, Larry. Good to be here. I've been in the area before. It was quite a few years ago for horseshoe tournament just down the road there in Fairmont. But thanks for helping me set up a few clinics and stuff and trying to help some people bowl here. And I see we've got the good scratch league here in the summertime finishing up. So,
well, we're honored to have you.
Well,
I've got a lot of questions for you. I'm sure that the viewers are going to be interested. And while they're practicing, I'm going to ask you a few questions. And what year are you in now in your touring status? Is it 35 years?
This is my 35th year on tour. My first full year was 1983, so this is year number 35.
35. Now, how many actual PBA tournaments, regional, senior regional, national tour, how many PBA tournaments do you think you've actually participated in?
I don't know the exact number, but I'm going to guess probably 1,500.
1,500 tournaments.
Yeah.
1,500 tournaments. Well, I bowled 110, and I was exhausted when I got done. And I find it remarkable. You know, Carmen Salvino once told me that his objective was to be the greatest bowler for longevity. And for a while there, he was right on track. But obviously, in your case, there's nothing that can compare to this performance. Now, what was the last year you were Bowler of the Year?
In 2010, when I was 50.
When you were 50. When you were 50, you were Bowler of the Year.
Yeah, it was pretty and unfortunately, since then, it hasn't been such a great career, but I still love to compete, and I still like to bowl on the national tour, and I do bowl on the senior tour also, and done all right with the senior tour. I've won a couple of Senior Player of the Year awards, and I've got 11 of those titles, and and now I'm bowling against the guys I bowled against for the last 30-something years. So.
Well, you got Weber and Duke. It seems like no matter where you go, you get Weber
Bone,
and Duke and Tom Baker and Parker Bone and Petraglia and
a bunch of great players, and a few guys that didn't bowl on tour back in the old days,
right?
Like Ron Moore and Kenny Parks and a few other guys that very good. A lot of good quality players out there, and we have a lot of fun, good competition, and Brian LeClaire just got the Player of the Year. What a good nod for him. He's been a great player for a long time. So.
Yeah, I was happy for Brian. I had a chance to do some work with him a few years ago at the Town Bowling Academy in Schenectady, and he had a pro shop there, and I was giving lessons there, and I watched him bowl. He was about 47, 48, and I remember thinking, oh my God, when he becomes 50, they got a little surprise for them. He's strong, he's good. And I'm real happy for Brian that he reached that pinnacle. Good for him.
Yep.
Now, I want to ask you a question about some bowlers and your opinion as to what you saw about their careers. I've always been fascinated with Lenny Borsch. Now, when Lenny was a touring player and bowled PBA events in the middle 80s and late 80s in Chicago, Milwaukee, etc., it was always good, but never what I would call a threat.
Well,
I say that respectively, but now he's a threat.
He was a consistent bowler back then.
Right.
And, you know, he would cash and make the finals.
Right.
I don't think he ever made a TV finals back then, but he was a quality player back then. And I don't know that he ever bowled full time. He might have bowled part time back then. And it's a little more challenging bowling full time or bowling part time against the full timers. There's been a few guys that had success doing that, but those are the exceptions than the rule. And, you know, now he's got the same game that he had, and is just a very consistent, very steady bowler.
Fantastic.
Very good bowler. Very good bowler.
Just represented the country in Germany. Now, what about Ron Moore? Here's another name that before the age of 50 really wasn't a factor.
Well, he didn't bowl on tour. He's never been I don't think he was ever a PBA member until after he turned 50.
Okay.
He bowled, he was on Team USA several times.
Right.
And had a great job, and I think living in Alaska probably made it a little more challenging for him to get to tournament locations, so I think he just decided to bowl the non-member route, and, you know, bowl probably, I guess he bowled high rollers and stuff like that, and Team USA, but he's definitely in the last 10 years, definitely probably the best bowler who didn't bowl on tour, and I think he just won his, I don't know, 10th or 11th title or whatever, so he's definitely a great bowler on the senior tour.
I think I think Gene Stuss 27, 28 years ago set the example. You know, he worked for GM. He was a great bowler in Detroit.
Yeah, him and John Hersina.
But nobody knew who he was until he became a senior touring player, and then he started to dominate like Lenny and Ron
and Bob Glass.
And Bobby Glass and John Hersina.
Yeah.
And I love when I see that. It fascinates me because there were guys that were really never a factor in their younger years, and over the age of 50, they became great.
Well, I don't know if it's that they weren't factors. Maybe in John Handegaard's case, maybe, but John was always a quality player. And I think he actually got better when he got in the senior tour, because I think it gave him confidence, because now he actually felt like he could win, and then he wins on the national tour at age 57, which is just crazy.
Really?
You know,
that was Kennewick. I think he went up the ladder in Kennewick,
qualified
5th, and beat them all at 57.
Yeah.
Great player. I love John Hannigan.
Yeah, but there's a lot of players out there. Unfortunately, the bowling tour didn't have ridiculous amounts of money. So there were some guys who had pretty decent jobs, and they felt it was a lot better to stay home with the family and, you know, keep their job and bowl part-time if they could. And some of these guys did bowl PBA tournaments part-time, some of them didn't. And so I don't know that it wasn't they weren't a threat. It's they just didn't have the opportunity and just didn't pursue it that way. And now, you know, when they got to their 50 years old, they said, well, I want to compete against the guys on tour. And I think it's great that they had the opportunity to do that. It's just kind of a shame that we don't bowl for a lot more money.
Well, that seems to have been the statement that I heard when I joined the tour in '68.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we've never climbed that mountain the way we dreamed of.
No,
but we're still there. We're still on television. We're still a great sport.
Yeah.
And we just hope that the right company would come along, give us a blanket, put about $20 million out, and start paying some money.
Yeah, it'd be nice if that happens, but it's great that the guys are able to do something about, you know, love their competition. I think that's the bigger part of it. Just love the competition, and that's kind of more what the senior tour is. The regular tour, you definitely got the guys who want to make a living doing it.
Now you're traveling and bowling and coaching. And tell me what you feel about your coaching schedule and how you've adapted to it.
Well, my first love is competition, so I do that, and then I contacted you about doing some here between, because I just had a tournament in Delaware where I didn't do great. I got a senior check, didn't get a regular check. On my way to Ohio for another extra frame tournament, and you know, I realized that I'm not as competitive as I used to be, not to mention the money's not huge, so to help supplement my income doing coaching and stuff. So I've been doing it the last few years, and I try to schedule it around events. And I honestly could probably make more money just doing coaching than actually trying to bowl tournaments. And so I enjoy the tournaments, and I also enjoy the competition. So it looks like they got the league started here.
Okay, this is position round night, and the money matches are right here on 13 and 14. And we have a little technical. Here we go. Now it looks like we're live. Okay. And this is a summer league with a big prize fund, $4,500 for first for 15 weeks.
That's not a bad deal.
No, it's not a bad deal. And we've tried to change the culture here in Morgantown. We've brought in scratch tournaments, a lot of advertising. They built a pro shop. We do a lot of lessons, a lot of coaching, a lot of promotion of the sport. This is a family that's owned this bowling center for 50 years, and you know, there's a lot of ways to go in the bowling industry, but what they have chose is that naturally the party atmosphere and the birthday parties, etc., are important, but scratch bowling and league bowling is very important to this family as well, and that's why they brought me here, and Justin and yourself.
Yeah.
And we love it here. Great town. Football stadium's only about a half a mile away. 29,000 kids are starting college in the next few weeks here, and I'm honored to be here. So you're on your way to Illinois.
Yep, I'm doing a couple of clinics there tomorrow evening in Washington, Illinois. One of the senior members, Gary Allstott, owns a bowling center there, and he owns another one in Crawfordsville, Indiana. So I'm going to do a couple there Thursday evening, and then on Friday head over to the extra frame tournament in Coldwater, Ohio.
I got it. Did we lose our picture again here? Let me see. I don't see anything moving.
It looks like it's not moving, so.
Okay.
I'm not sure what you hit the. I don't have my glasses on, so I can't read the fine print.
Hold on a minute.
It's doing something, but it doesn't. to start recording?
No. It's this one is this program that's not getting minimized, I guess. As long as that program's not minimized, it should be fine.
Oh, okay. Oh, there we go.
If it freezes, Walter, just click that red dot at the bottom.
That one?
Yeah, just click that.
Okay, and then minimize it?
Yeah, or just click it to the back.
Okay, all right.
So now you're on your way to Illinois, and then what after that?
Well, after Illinois, I'll go to Indiana on Thursday.
Okay.
And then, like I said, Friday I'll head to Coldwater, Ohio for the extra frame tournament. I'll have a practice session and program on Friday, and then Saturday we start competition, and hopefully I'll be bowling on Sunday.
I got it.
And as soon as I'm done, I'll be heading down to Florida where I live.
I got it. Now you say you haven't been bowling that good. What do you think's the problem?
Well, I'm only 57, so I'm getting a little older.
Just with 1,500 tournaments under your belt.
I'm a little older, and I don't know. It's basically I consider it the last 7 years. It just hasn't been as good. I don't know. Hard to put an exact thing on it, but one thing is for sure, I could definitely practice more than I do.
Do you still feel you can win?
Well, I had a second place finish last year, and I had a fourth place finish on the national tour at an extra frame tournament. So I think I still can, but it's like everything's got to be just right. These kids on the tour are really, really good. And I'm not really, really good anymore. I'm good, but I'm not really, really good.
Tell me who you think the best young star is right now.
Well, EJ Tackett, I think he's player of the year, and he's a phenomenal bowler, phenomenal athlete. You got Marshall Kent, Don Barrett, and of course Jason Belmonte. Sean Rash just won again this last week. There's so many more talented players out there. It's unbelievable. I watch him bowl, and I'm like, I got to compete against that. I mean, last week in Delaware, I'm struggling to average 205, and Marshall Kent's a couple pair of wear average almost 240, making him look like a house shot, and I don't have that. And I don't have that. I mean, they are not that easy. They are not that easy. And these guys, they're good. That's all I can say. These guys are really, really good.
I think Tackett and Kent are definitely the future on the right side.
Definitely.
It's obviously Belmonte, of course, but take away Belmonte, and it looks like Kent and Tackett. It's going to be a two-man war for a while.
Those two guys are very talented, but you got Anthony Simonson, who didn't bowl this last weekend, and he's a great bowler. And then you got Svensson, who's, I never really thought it was necessary for a left-hander to bowl two-handed, and he just does it, and he's doing it with a urethane ball.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. I watched his demeanor, and obviously he's got the same identical lineup as Earl Anthony with 600 reps. He doesn't. The ball doesn't go left of his laydown. It's just right up the lane. Yeah. And it's and
it keeps the ball in play, but that high revolutions ball speed that he's got makes those pins just dance like crazy.
They have no chance.
It's crazy.
They have no chance. He's got ice water in his veins. Doesn't look like he flinches, that's for sure.
So what do we got? Which teams do we got here that are
we've
first,
got
second,
the
third,
Mountaineer
fourth,
Vision team, headed by PBA regional champion Brian Robinson, who is a resident here of Morgantown, and they're bowling a team out of Fairmont, West Virginia, with Alan Johnson. Now, Alan Johnson's a lefty. He'll be coming up in the next frame. Probably the best lefty in the region. Really throws the ball good, very smooth, excellent bowler. Yeah. And he's bowling against Brian tonight, who's a regional champion and probably the best bowler in the region itself. But him and Johnson could start striking at any moment and shoot 780. I mean, it could get that. It's a modified house shot.
Yeah, it's a long pattern, but it's still, there's actually a hook to the right. I bowled a little bit on it this afternoon when I was practicing. Yeah. A little bit of hook. It's kind of early hook, and then it kind of sets. Now, I fooled around with a two-handed shot afterwards, and it's like, wow, I could get the ball to then hook on the back end, but my one-handed delivery didn't really make that happen. It was more hook early and kind of set kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a money match tonight too. It's $1,500 to each winner. It's a $4,500 first place in a summer league, which is kind of rare, but that's what we do here.
A bit unusual, yeah.
Yeah, we put
That's
some
quite a
money
deal.
up. We put some money up. We want him to bowl. Watch Alan Johnson's stroke. What do you think of his stroke, Walter Ray?
Well, he does a lot of what I do teach in my clinics. He gets the ball started nice and early in the swing, and it basically makes a swing what we call a freer swing, nice and easy. It's not overly controlly. I see a lot of amateurs who are basically on that really excessive controlling part, which makes sense to me because you want to control the ball, but it's like what I tell them in my clinics is like you kind of got to lose control and then get it back kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I see a lot of people who are using a lot of arm and not using their legs much. It's kind of like free up that swing and let the ball work with the weight of the ball and not trying to fight it.
You know what I find amazing about Brian Robinson, was one-handed up until about a year ago, had a bad wrist, and, has never really, got to the level he wanted to get to.
Sure.
And started the ball two-handed. Naturally, his strike percentage went up on pocket hits, that's for sure. Won a first regional about 3 months ago.
Right.
Now, here's a man that was one-handed, right-handed his whole life.
Yep.
All of a sudden, he's got his best bowling in the last year two-handed. So.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, we had a couple guys that bowled in the 80s and 90s that did something similar to that. Bob Benoit and Mike Miller.
Yes.
When I first came on tour, they were on tour or bowled a little bit on tour, and they threw the ball straighter than I did.
Yes.
And then Bob figured out a way for him to cradle the ball and hook the ball a lot and throw it with a little bit lower ball speed. And Mike Miller learned how to bowl without his thumb in the ball, and they both became very, very good bowlers and very successful. And I remember in the early 90s when some of the lane conditions would favor the guys going straighter, and they would whine about it. I'm like, wait a minute, you guys did that's how you guys used to bowl. And but they wouldn't try that because they got so used to hooking the ball. They got so used to that. And I've seen that with Tom Doherty, who throws the ball very well without his thumb. But he can actually throw the ball very well with his thumb, but he would rather throw the ball, would rather use a urethane ball and not with his thumb than use a reactive ball and, put his thumb in the ball.
Yeah.
It's an interesting theory, how that works, and I don't know if it's because of the high rev rate, that extra spin on the ball is, but I do know that the extra rotation is going to read the lane a lot more, and when there's a little bit of difference in the oil pattern, you can really magnify that. Brian just threw a great shot there, leaving a 10 pin, and now you got Alan leaving a soft 7.
Miller was unique for a number of reasons. Number one, his sister was Dana Miller Mackey, who was an excellent PWBA star and a champion. And his father, Gub, who was the police chief of Albuquerque, as a PBA member, and his wife, I don't know if she was a PBA member, but this is a situation where the father, the mother, the brother and sister all had sanctioned 300 games.
Yeah.
And it's been a very rare feat. It was a very rare feat 30 years ago. Now it might be a little more common.
Yeah.
But this was a bowling family.
Yeah.
And Mike evidently was strong enough to hold that ball out there one-handed. And he won a PBA National in Toledo.
Very difficult to do that.
Really, it was never really a major factor. And went to the thumbless shot, and all of a sudden he had a winning shot.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing what that extra power will do. It's just. And if you have the accuracy to go with it, that's what makes those guys so good. The guys that bowl two-handed, and the two-handed delivery basically takes the stress off of the wrist that Tom Doherty is able to do without his thumb, and because he's a strong guy. But the wrist takes a bigger beating by doing it that way. When you cradle it with your other hand, all of a sudden because I can bowl that way. There's no way that I could bowl without my thumb in the ball with just one hand.
No.
My wrist,
two-handed, you've got 8 pounds in the other hand.
My wrist is not able to support it. Well, it's more than that. It's the way you're able to cup the wrist, and now all of a sudden you can hold the ball between your hands.
Yes.
And the wrist, you can do whatever you want with it.
Yes.
So, and it gets
I watched you bowl today
throwing
two-handed, and I said, you know what? That could be the senior tour's worst nightmare. They've never had a two-hander out there in their 50s, you know, because most of them just never bowled that way.
There have been a couple guys that do a little bit. We actually have a guy who bowls, and he puts his thumb halfway in the thumb hole, kind of like Tom Smallwood. He's a very good bowler. He bowled really well at the tournament in Anderson, Indiana, which was actually a short oil pattern. He bowled really well in that.
Wow.
Or was that, maybe it was one in Hammond, but a very good bowler. And it's just a matter of, you know, these guys getting a little confidence and, you know, like, wow, they realize they can actually strike and compete a little bit.
So after you're done with these few tournaments the next month, you got some time off?
Well, I got lots of regionals coming up the next couple months. I live down in Florida, and there's going to be a bunch of regionals. I'm going to go to North Carolina Labor Day weekend. The weekend after, there's another tournament up in Fayetteville, North Carolina. The weekend after, I'm going to have a birthday party for my daughter. The weekend after, I mean, there's just, it's like almost every weekend after that till the U.S. Open, I got something going on. So I'm going to be fairly busy on the weekends, and I'll probably schedule a few clinics around some of those tournaments, especially the ones that I'm traveling to.
I got it. Now, I noticed recently that Go Bowling is now a major sponsor of the PBA. What is Go Bowling?
Well, Go Bowling, I think, is one of the marketing arms of the USBC and Bowling Proprietors Association, and it's something that the PBA definitely needs, something like that where they can go out and get some good sponsors. Something that, without sponsors, professional bowling just isn't going to have much money, and that's what this league's got. This league's got some good sponsors that help put some money into the league. Otherwise, you're bowling for your own money, and it's just hard to get an excessive prize fund without, you know, the additional sponsors. That's how the PBA was successful for so many years.
Right.
Getting those additional sponsors plus the, you know, the rights money from TV. Unfortunately, we lost that. So now they're just trying to get that, trying to get the sponsors.
What we did with this league is we have a wonderful jeweler in town called Jacqueline's Jewelers, and they're a high-class store with just fantastic jewelry. And the gentleman that owns it decided to put some money into this league, and we gave him a masking unit on 23 and 4. We sell masking units to our major sponsors, and we feel that scratch bowling is so important, but naturally you've got to put some money up. That's what we've been able to do.
You've done a great job here getting the good sponsors and stuff, and I commend, you know, Jerry and Steve for doing a great job with the bowling center and being positive about tournament bowling, scratch bowling, and sport bowling basically in general, as opposed to recreation bowling, which, you know, across the country is becoming more of the mainstay of bowling. But without sport bowling, I think bowling's going to kind of go away.
I agree with you. There's room for both.
Yes, definitely.
I certainly would never fault a proprietor for, you know, somebody's got to pay the rent.
Definitely.
But scratch bowling and league bowling has been a tradition for 100 years. And when I was brought here, the owner said to me, well, what do you think about it? And I said, well, I think we can make a run and set a precedent here. We have. We've got great support from the bowling industry, Ace Mitchell's in Akron, all the major ball companies, shoe companies, grip companies. And as the year goes on, when we live stream our Classic League, which is starting September 7th, we'll be featuring all the products and those companies as we live stream. Now in this championship match here, it looks like the team with Alan Johnson is in a lot of trouble. Their middleman, Georgia, is 45 and a fifth, is 3-1 pinners, mortal sin there.
That's not good.
No.
You don't want to do that kind of stuff.
And the Mountaineer Vision team is running away and hiding, and they're going to have to start striking real fast here in order to beat the Robinson team. You'll notice a very short approach standing in front of the second set of dots for Brian Robinson, and literally equal to the ball return. Very short steps, and a lot of hands, a lot of revs, and there it is. The off hit, Walter Ray.
That's what they want. That's what I want. So somebody was giving us a standing sheet here.
Yeah, RGA is the team with Alan Johnson.
Okay.
Their points for this summer is 1252.80. These are Peterson points. Mountaineer Vision is 1237.
So that's pretty close.
Stefano's right behind him at 1230, and then track bowling at 1212. Looks like it's a 4-team race. Maybe fifth place team to 3 inserters at 1211. So we've got 5 teams this evening battling for the $4,500 first place. I think it all goes down to the first game. Anyone that can win and shoot 660, 680, take all the points, it's going to be in very good shape. And it looks like B-Rob's team right now is definitely in the driver's seat.
Yeah, they definitely got this game well in hand.
Now, I want to ask you another question. Being that you have always bowled in your life against Pete Weber and Norm Duke, tell me what it's like bowling them for 35 years.
Well, a few years ago, okay, more than 10 years ago, it wasn't so bad. But like I said, the last 6-7 years, I haven't bowled as well, and they've been out bowling me the last 6 or 7 years, and that's a fact. I kind of hate to admit it, but it's a fact. And years before that, I think I had a little edge on them. Pete Weber has been great for a long time. Never had the 1 year to give him the Player of the Year, but been a great player for all these years. Got lots of titles, and I know lots of people consider him the best bowler ever. And he's what a talented player. And if he hadn't had some, hiccups along the way in his career, he may have had 50 titles by now. I don't know.
Well, I think that's a very legitimate point. Amazing that he could never be Bowler of the Year. I find that it's incomprehensible.
It really is. And then, of all the guys that have more than 25 titles, I think he is the only one who's never been Player of the Year.
Yeah.
And he almost. I think he was runner-up the 1 year. Maybe he's probably run up a couple of times, but it is actually amazing when you think about it. To have a career that he's had and not got the Player of the Year award.
Well, I remember, I'm not 100% sure, but it might have been the 88 race.
87.
Where Marshall Holman won once.
No, Marshall actually didn't win any tournaments.
And got Bowler of the Year.
And Pete won 1 title.
Yes.
And Marshall got the Player of the Year nod from the players because it was a vote at that time.
Yes.
If they had a point system, like they do now, or it may have been that he would have got Player of the Year. I don't know.
Yes.
But
yeah.
You can argue lots of different things. So.
Well, it's an amazing career. Obviously, he's won 100 PBA titles. You and him are the only two to do that.
Yes.
And obviously, both of you in your 50s bowled fantastic. In your 40s and 30s and 20s.
Well, and watching Pete bowl the last year or two with his injury, he'd throw a shot phenomenal, walk off the approach like he was 80 years old, and get up and throw the next shot phenomenal, and walk off the approach like he needed a cane. It's absolutely amazing to watch him do that. And I almost think he was bowling better last year than he's probably ever bowled in his life. And I think the other part of that is I think he probably had a little more confidence. And I think that's a big part of bowling well, or doing anything well. You got to have confidence, and not that he's never had confidence himself, because I think he always has. But I think it's even stepped up a little bit more. He won 4 senior tournaments in a row last summer.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
And I don't care what tour you're bowling on.
Yeah, that's
to win 4 events in a row is really remarkable. I don't care. That's just phenomenal.
Now, tell me about the European players, Francois Lavoie.
Well, he's actually he's a French Canadian,
and then Jesper Swensson's European.
He's from Sweden.
Okay.
And then Martin Larsson's from Sweden.
Now, tell me, in your career, 30 years ago they were never a factor. 20 years ago they weren't a factor. Foreign players, other than Monticelli and Mats Carlson, there was no foreign players that could ever come over here and dominate. And now all of a sudden, with Belmonte being Bowler of the Year and Svensson and of course Lavoie and Martin Larsson, what do you think happened, if you were going to define what happened?
I'm not 100% sure, because the money was probably actually better back in the 80s and 90s, and the few international players that did come over were not the best from their country. We had a few guys that would come over and try to bowl the tour, and they really weren't the best in their country. Because there's a bunch of guys. Andrew Frawley, who's a senior player from Australia, is a phenomenal player, and he's made a couple telecasts. He made one on the regular tour a few years ago when he was in his 40s, and he just made one this year with the senior tour. And he's just, so there's been a lot of other good players out there, and it for whatever reason, the expenses or whatever, it's hard to put a real finger on it, but I think the other countries have probably stepped up their game a little bit as far as coaching, and with the international play they have, the international tournaments that they have, and even there is a European tour, which has probably developed a good quality, a lot of good players. You got Stu Williams from England, who now lives in the United States, and Don Barrett, and then Thomas Larson from Denmark, and so there's a bunch of good quality international players. You have Francois Lou from South Africa, Francois Lavoie from Quebec, and then we had Patrick Gerard from Quebec. So there's just a lot of good, and Dan McClellan from Ontario.
He was great. I thought he threw the ball great.
He throws the ball phenomenal,
yeah,
and now
yeah.
and now he's not even going to try bowling on the tour. He decided that it's just not worth it, which is kind of a shame. Working at home or whatever, and he's going to bowl 1 or 2 tournaments a year maybe, and it's kind of a shame that we don't bowl for more money so that those guys that are truly talented can come out and do what they can.
Now, what do you think of the women's tour?
The women's tour, I think the women's tour is probably better than it's ever been.
So do I.
And I think a lot of that has to do with the collegiate bowling program.
Yes,
I think
the girls are fantastic.
The women have had a great opportunity getting scholarships to go into college, and they're taking advantage of that and getting some great instruction in the college and universities, when they go out on tour, and they've been hungry. And for a long time they didn't have a tour to bowl on, and now they do, and I think that's awesome. And honestly, I think the women's tour is probably better than it's ever been.
It was exciting. I watched a few weeks ago. I watched Liz Johnson win, and I remember thinking to myself, after I watched that performance and realized that she's been dominant for 20 years.
Oh, definitely.
And
what a great
I started
player
thinking about Marion Ladewig, and I had
Yeah.
a chance to meet Marion as a young man. I met Marion about 30 years ago in my middle 30s, and she was a guest at the Brunswick World Open. They had named that World Open after her. And Liz Johnson's like Marion Ladewig. You just can't stop her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think Liz has a lot more competition than Marion did.
So
I think
do I.
Marion was a way more dominant player. I think she was, quote, almost ahead of her time, if that makes any sense. That she was so good back then that, I think she won the All-Star tournament 8 times, which is just unheard of to win an event like that many times.
No doubt. But you're right, it was a different time. In the pinboy era, women weren't really wanting to go into bowling centers or whatever they called them.
Sure, yeah.
They were den of iniquities. And their families were afraid for them to go in there. But in the modern era, in the middle and late 60s, it changed. And of course, by then now she was older. But Liz Johnson is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Ice water in her veins.
Great
I'll tell you what, unbelievable to watch. She
Yeah.
does not flinch.
Yep, and now you've got, some of these younger international players. You got Diana Z and Daria from Poland.
Yes, fantastic. What a game.
What a game she's
How
got.
about that game?
I mean,
unbelievable.
And then Verity Crawley from England, and those young girls or young ladies, they get the ball into the swing so early and let the ball swing, and then at the point of release just hit it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to be able to hit it like that. I don't. And it's just amazing to watch them throw the ball, and they got such great games and great releases, and then Liz knocks them down.
Well, Liz is from the old school. You know what I love? She looks up and she looks down. She looks down at the foul line of the first set of dots like Glenn Allison did, Wes Malott, Wayne Webb. They
Yeah.
looked up and then they drew their eyes back.
Yeah.
And that's a little bit of a trick there if you watch it. They're drawing an imaginary line.
I don't know how they can be that consistent doing that, but they are.
Yeah, they are. They really are.
amazing.
And I knew Allison did it when I was a kid. I can remember Billy Whalers saying he looked at the foul line. And I remember thinking, how was that possible? And then
Yeah.
when I did see him bowl, that's what he did.
Yeah.
And of course, Webb did it. Webb looked 40 feet and then drew his eyes real close to the first set of dots. And
Did
then
he?
Malott started doing it, and obviously
Well,
Liz Johnson.
I don't know. Does Wayne actually do that? I know he might look down and adjust his eyes, but I don't think he's looking at the foul line when he lets
No,
go.
I
does
think
he?
he's looking at the first set of dots. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But
Where
Wayne was
Wes
gifted.
Wes is actually looking at the foul line. They actually put when I was on Team USA and he was on there one year, we were on it together, and they had a camera that they mounted on glasses, and they were able to figure out where your sight was and convert it to the video that they were recording, which was mounted next to your head, and he would throw shots and you could see his eyes focusing down the lane, focusing at the foul line, focus down the lane. He would start the approach with his eyes focused down the lane, and as he walked towards the foul line, his focus would come down to the foul line. When he threw the ball, he's looking at the foul line.
Oh my God.
Absolutely amazing. And
Oh my God.
it was crazy. And it's for me, it's got to be like old field.
Now, where do you look?
I look at the arrows, and I will sometimes look a foot or two in front of the arrows, but I've always looked at the arrows, and part of my thinking was the ball's not going to hook in the first 15 feet, even though a lot of tour players think the ball does. There's so much hole in the first 15 or 20 feet, the ball barely hooks those first 15 feet. So, that being said, if I throw the ball, and I'm one of the few players that actually kind of hits the target he's looking at, and I don't mean that disrespectful to the other guys, because most of the guys are hitting like 2 boards left. They're consistent about it. And that's the big thing, they're consistent about it, where I would actually look at like board 5 and hit board 5. If I threw a bad shot, I might hit 6 or 4, but if I threw a good shot, I'm gonna hit that board that I'm looking at. And I get that immediate response, feedback from my eyes that, yeah, I threw the ball where I wanted, and I'm gonna get that, that result is what I want, that shot being where I want it.
Now, do you see the bottom of the ball over your board, or you see the sphere?
The bottom of the ball. That's
You
what I
watch
look
the
for.
bottom of the ball.
Yeah, and
Now,
when I watch somebody else, like watching Brian throw the ball here, we're up
Yeah.
to the side. To
Yeah.
me, it looked like he had about 16 on that shot.
Yes.
But the thing is, we're off to the side. You really need to get right behind him, because
See
even
it.
being off to the side like we are, about 2 lanes over and 30 feet back, it's not the same angle. You got to get right behind him to see that. And then you got Alan Johnson. It looks like he's playing about 7 or 8 on the
Yeah,
left
he's
side.
getting loose now. He had a bad start, but he starts striking. He could put 15 in a row up there. And he better start, because his team's 100 pins down. Now, let me ask you this question. In today's national tour, who do you think is the most accurate bowler, other than yourself?
I'm not the most accurate bowler.
Well, who's the most accurate
Not
bowler?
even close.
Who do you think is really splitting them?
God, that's a tough question. I mean, the thing is what makes Jason Belmonte so good is he's accurate. Is he the most accurate? I don't know, but he's very accurate. And
Accurate where? At the arrows, the break point?
everywhere.
Everywhere.
Hitting his target. I mean, and I think that's the biggest thing.
Do you think
And
people realize that, or they
I don't think
realize
I don't think they do realize that.
I don't
how
think they do
accurate it
either.
is.
Because if
You
you're
know,
saying it, then obviously you're there every week.
and I mean, yeah, he might miss his target a little bit, and his power is helping to create a little bit of extra area.
Right.
But he's still accurate. And I think that the combination of the power and the accuracy is what makes him so good. Same way with EJ Tackett, Marshall Kent, all these guys. They've got a lot of power, but they got a lot of accuracy to go with it. And it's really amazing. I have nothing but respect for those guys, and I'm kind of jealous.
Do they talk to you about your career?
I don't know. I keep getting teased by Tommy Jones when I'm going to retire. So,
Tommy Jones is a great player.
great player.
He's a horse. There's
Yeah.
no quitting that boy.
Yeah.
He just keeps firing away. Might have a bad year or two, and the next year he's a factor again. That's the way it is. Now, the PBA Senior Tour just had a 60 and over tournament.
Right. Yeah.
Were you there to watch that?
I did not. I left. Went home for that.
And Darrell Bauer won that tournament.
Darrell Bauer, who has one national title, and he bowled part-time on the tour back then. He didn't bowl full-time.
Yeah.
And I talked to his son Jonathan, who bowls on the regular tour, and they have a couple bowling centers in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and the deal was Jonathan kind of wanted to bowl the tournament in Virginia, the extra fame tournament there, but if he did that, then Darrell wasn't going to be able to bowl the Super Senior tournament, and so he let his dad bowl the Super Senior tournament, and he said that was a good decision because his dad ended up winning the tournament. So
I'm going to be going through.
What a great bowling family there.
Oh yeah, they're the best. The Jack Bauer, the father, and Gary,
where they used
Darryl.
to host the tournaments back in the old days.
They were so wonderful to us. I'm going to be going through there tomorrow morning around 10. That's on my way back to Connecticut, and I'm leaving here at 6 a.m. and going to take 68 to 70 and an 81 north up to Hazleton, over to Stroudsburg.
I got the rig 10 out.
Catch 84 at Milford and into Hartford. And I love that ride through the Poconos, my favorite ride, where I go through Milford and Stroudsburg. I'm being hugged by Brian Robinson. It's one of the highlights of my bowling career, ladies and gentlemen. And Brian Robinson's team right now is taking a commanding lead in this position round match. Now, Brian,
He's got to go.
Brian had 3 ringing 10s on 14. That game could have been 260.
Yes, Larry, I'm here.
3 ringing 10s on 14. My God.
I know. I kept fiddling around, and I just decided to move in a little more and just hook it more.
Just hit it.
Yeah.
That's the tour move.
Yeah. Right.
Never move right. Move left and hit it harder. That's always a move.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if you move. If you go light, you still move left.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that makes absolutely no sense to me.
Now I'm going to give you a prediction. I like to make predictions.
Okay.
I'm going to predict to you that within the next 3 years, there is going to be a two-handed woman that's going to dominate professional women's bowling.
Well,
now what do you think about that?
I don't know about that. I haven't seen any two-handed. I've seen a couple two-handed lady bowlers, but I haven't seen or really heard about any in even the collegiate ranks. So I'm not saying it's not possible, and for whatever reason, it just hasn't happened yet. And I'm not going to. I would say 5 to 10 years, I can see it. But for whatever reason, I haven't seen them, and doesn't mean that it can't happen. Because I have seen a couple of ladies bowl two-handed, but I've only seen a couple. So
you know why I say that? I did a clinic with Del Warren 2 years ago, who's a genius, one of the greatest coaches in the world. And we were talking about so many things. I've known him as long as I've known you, since the early 80s. And he told me in 5 to 10 years, two-handers are going to dominate the sport. And I said, men and women? And he said, yes.
Yeah.
Now, he's down there with Weber and Kegel, and I mean, he's got so much information and data. It shocked me when he said both. Well, I didn't think it would be both, but he thinks it will be, or at least that's what he said to me.
I don't see any reason why it wouldn't on the ladies' tour. Like I said, I don't know why there aren't more ladies that do it. Like I said, it's an easy way to hook the ball. I think the biggest hurdle that the ladies are going to have is the ball speed. Yes. I think that's the one thing that the men can do, is they can throw the ball hard enough.
Yeah, they can rifle it.
And you've got to have the ball speed. If you're going to have a high rev rate, you need the ball speed. And that's kind of one of my problems with bowling two-handed. I don't have the ball speed. I was practicing today on this 49-foot pattern. I could strike on it because there's plenty of oil.
Yeah.
But it's not. You start getting on a regular house shot or a 40-foot pattern, and my ball just hooks so much. I don't have enough control on it, and I'm not that good yet. But I don't have the ball speed. If I had the ball speed another 2-3 miles an hour, keep the ball more in line.
You think if you went to 14 with a strong core, these RGs and diffs and 14s, they hit like cannons.
14 probably still. I think 14 is still viable. Even guys on tour. These guys that hook the ball, I don't know why they even would think about using a 16-pound ball, but there are a few guys that do use 6. I think Taggett does. I think Barnes still does. Belmonte might. I haven't used I used 16 pounds a couple of times, and that's only when we have the really long patterns. But for the most part, I've been using 15 pounds since the late 90s.
Wow.
And I was bowler of the decade in the 2000s.
I know you were. You were bowler of the decade in the 90s too, weren't you?
Yeah. So I don't know that it's necessary to have the extra weight, but you know, these guys, they kind of feel that way. They feel like they won't overthrow the ball, but
Yeah.
again, ball speed to me is not a bad thing. You know, so whatever. It's hard to say.
Now let me ask you this: you start the tour in the early '80s, and you're no factor, you know, when you first come out, like most people are. If anybody were to say to you, like Larry Lichstein in 1982, Larry the big shot and Walter Ray the rookie. Walter Ray, in 35 years, you're going to be the greatest bowler that ever lived with 100 PBA titles. Would you have looked at me in '82 and said I was nuts?
I would have said you were nuts.
I kind of thought you'd say that.
I was a really, really good horseshoe player back then, and I thought that I would be the best ever in horseshoes. And I'm not even close to that, because the guy who's the current world champion, Brian got the 10 out.
Yeah, got a 10 out.
But I sense my horseshoe game is not what I was hoping for. And Alan Francis, who's the current world champion, just won his 22nd time.
You were telling me this guy's unbelievable.
He is unbelievable how good he is.
See, I made a wish here.
Ryan Robinson is rubbing my head because he got a messenger.
And I'm making a wish, ladies and gentlemen.
He's making a wish that he has my hairdo.
Yes, I do.
But
so 35 years later.
I did not. Well, when I first came on tour, I knew I wasn't the best bowler in Southern California.
Yeah.
So to have aspirations of being the best ever, I don't think it really entered my mind, honestly. I think it was like, this would be really cool if I could make a living at this.
Yeah.
You know, I think that was my honest goal, was to make a living at it. And fortunately, I was able to make some money at it my first year out. And the second year, I made a little bit. Third year, I started making more money. And the fourth year, things just went crazy. I was player of the year. But it was... And I'm not even sure that until that happened that I thought I could even be player of the year. It was like, well, it'd be nice to win a title, you know, but once I did it once, I'm like, well, I got to do it again, kind of thing, you know. And
now, when you won in '86, your first time, or '85?
'86.
And you used a red U-dot urethane?
Black U-dot.
Black U-dot. So now you're throwing 3-piece urethane, and you become bowler of the year, and you're proceeding Roth and Albany, and you're against Holman, and obviously you're bowling against the greats of that era.
Yep.
Now resin comes out, and all of a sudden in the '90s, you start to challenge Anthony's record, and by the middle 2000s, you surpass it. Do you feel resin helped you more than anyone else, or equally, because everybody had a chance? Or what do you think resin did for your game?
Well, I think it was more the lane conditions, because you know what? They're still using resin, and it hadn't helped me in the last couple of years. I think it more had to do with the lane conditions we were bowling on.
Okay.
And I was a little better bowler back then.
Yes.
I'm not the bowler I was
Obviously.
back then.
Obviously.
And
did you feel you could win every time you put your shoes on?
I felt I had a chance.
No matter who?
Kind of.
Did anybody intimidate you?
Well, I mean, there's some great players, and a lot of guys beat me on TV, or in one match, or in tournaments and stuff. My best year in '93, I won 7 tournaments. I think I made I think I was in the top 5 15 times for that season out of 30 tournaments.
Oh my God. I was there. I watched.
Which is pretty good.
Yeah.
But I think Roth had a better year than that, and I think Anthony had better years than that.
Yeah.
So I wasn't quite as dominant as those guys were when they were dominant, but I was more dominant than some of the other players.
Yeah.
And I don't know. The reactive balls definitely didn't hurt my game, but I think that the lane conditions were the bigger, you know, it's like they allowed me to play outside the lane. And, you know, back then, we were probably using a third of the oil back in the early 90s than they are now.
Well, I like what you said. You know, everybody had them. Bottom line is you didn't have a secret ball. And obviously, with the whole tour getting them, and being that I was the one that ran the comp ball program, I knew that everybody could get anything they wanted off my trucks. And if you were a non-staff member, you had a chance to get the great balls of every company, and they still couldn't beat you. So let's put it this way, resin helped a lot of people, and it still does.
Yeah.
But that's the nature of equipment.
Yeah,
I mean, equipment helps people. That's why there's
it does,
technology.
But people talk about that, but my point is, they still use reactive balls.
Yeah.
They are different than they were in early 90s, but they aren't excessively different. The difference is the lane patterns are way different than they used to be. And I think that's, even from the early 2000s. I remember the guys that hooked the ball a lot when in the early 2000s, they would struggle for the first few games on the tour. And then after a few games, the oil would carry down, lanes would break down.
Came down
and all of a sudden, those guys started whacking them like crazy.
Yeah.
Now, they're whacking them out of the gate.
Yeah.
They don't wait the 3 or 4 games like they used to. They're whacking them out of the gate. So I think it's a combination that these guys have learned a little bit more, but I think the lane conditions have also kind of played a little bit more into their game. And I'm not the bowler I used to be, so it really, if I could execute like I used to, I could probably threaten them a little bit, but I'm not even the bowler I used to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Larry, I need to get on the road. Thanks for having me here.
Walter Ray, it's been an honor to have you here in Morgantown. You're always welcome to come back.
And I'm
here
looking to come back. Hopefully you do it a couple times in the next year or two.
Please do. Please be our guest anytime, and drive safe over to Illinois.
And you drive safe up to New England.
Again, an honor to have you here. We were thrilled.
And congratulations on you getting into that's New
England
Hall.
I'm getting into another Hall of Fame,
that's
Walter
awesome.
Ray. It's probably going to be my last, but it's the best, so I'm thrilled.
All right.
Thank you so much. You take care now. All right, as we were talking about this championship match here, the Mountaineer Vision team has got about a 100-pin lead as we speak. Remember what I said about Alan Johnson. He's a strike machine. He ended last game with 5 in a row. He started this game with 5 in a row. However, his 2 teammates, one with 66 in the 5th and one with 84 in the 5th, are definitely holding him back. It's a 4-game league. So anything can happen here, but it looks like Mountaineer Vision right now has got at least a 100-pin lead after a game and a half, and it's a points league. So if Mountaineer Vision can hold that lead, they're going to win the league. Again, $4,500 for first place, sponsored by Jacqueline's Jewelers of Morgantown, West Virginia, the premier jewelry store in Morgantown. Just a wonderful man owns it. And you walk into their showroom, and let me tell you something. Boy, I'd love to get one of those Rolexes in there, but I need somebody to buy me one. Unless I take out a big loan. Yes, I'm heading up to New England tomorrow. This Saturday evening is a function that's going to take place, which will be the greatest evening, the greatest awards ceremony in the history of bowling in New England. The New England Bowling Association is having its inaugural Hall of Fame induction. They started to run monthly tournaments in January of 1963, scratch bowling tournaments. They've never missed a month in 54 years. And I'm one of the 49 bowlers that's going to be inducted this coming Saturday, along with 5 people in the meritorious service category. And some of the names that are going in this coming weekend are names from the great history of bowling: the 1976 U.S. Open champion Paul Moser, Rhode Island's first PBA champion John Van Hees, the living legend, one of the world's greatest coaches, the great Bill Spigner, Brian Bogosian, the 1999 Masters champion, and many, many more great players from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. My boyhood idol will be going in this weekend. Connecticut's first superstar, the legendary Mike Collins, who was New England's first PBA member and a 6-time world record holder when he set 6 world records in 1963. He'll be sitting at my table with my son Michael, who's named after Mike Collins. And my son Michael is NEBA's most prolific champion with 30 titles. Alex Aguiar in second place with 18 titles will be there. Barry Warshevsky, a USBC Eagle winner, the 1971 doubles with Bill Zubin in Detroit, with 16 NEBA titles will be there. The fantastic Bill Webb, with, I believe, 15 or 16 NEBA titles, and so many more. The greatest honor of my bowling career will take place this Saturday evening, and I'm heading up tomorrow, driving the old RV up that I bought in Las Vegas about 3 months ago. It's an oldie, 31-year-old 40-foot diesel pusher. It's my hobby. I work on it, and hopefully it won't break down, and it will get me to north of Hartford at Windsor Locks. Well, Johnson started with 6 in a row, and Paul Gasek, the C bowler for the Brian Robinson team with the first 7, and Paul just dead yanks it up, but he's in the dry boards, pretty accurate. One of our USBC officers here in Morgantown, an avid bowler, bowling 3-4 nights a week, and I'm just honored to be able to be calling the action. Now, B-Rob's up on 4 in a row. Watch B-Rob's style. Very short steps in front of the second set of dots. About 500 revs off his hand. Let's see what he does. And there it is. The typical two-handed will throw 7 pins into the 7-pin strike. That entry angle along with those revs render the pins weak. And here he is to rub my head and tell me more jokes about my hairdo. Go ahead.
I don't know if Larry has told the audience, but Neil owes us 7 beers right now. He's been hung 7 times now. 7 times.
Look at the strikes now. Alan Johnson and you have a chance here for both 7-baggers out of the chute.
Yeah.
And Alan got off real slow. His teammates are holding him back, but it looks like you guys have got these guys on the ropes. I don't think they can catch you right now unless there's a major collapse. Oops, got a little left. Normally that ball comes off the spot for him and hung a little. They're a little tighter tonight.
Yeah, I don't know. They're a little funky tonight. They were the ball just doesn't want to read in the right spot. It wants to go a little long, and then when you try to get on it, it wants to read a little early, and the left lane's got a little more hook to it. I got it a little bit. I got 2 3/4 deeper on the left lane. So,
you do.
Yeah.
Now you're getting ready to bowl this weekend. Where are you going?
Going to Coldwater, Ohio for the Extra Frame event. In fact, Walter's going to be there as well.
Coldwater, Ohio.
Yes.
And why would the name be Coldwater? Do you ever get any idea?
Well, there is a lake there.
Okay.
Big lake. Maybe it's very cold all the time. I don't know.
Coldwater, Ohio.
But there is a big lake there. Very small town, but it's one of the best. It's one of the best regionals, and now it's an extra frame.
It's an extra frame.
It's extra frame, but it was a regional for a long time, and it's been one of the best events. Great owners, the Hardings, and it's a great event.
How many miles from Morgantown?
Well, it's about 5 hours.
5-hour ride?
Yeah.
When are you leaving?
I'm probably going to leave Friday.
Maybe
Thursday, but most likely Friday. Oh, Paul!
Look at Paul Gasek with the first 8.
Ladies and gentlemen, Walter Ray is a genius.
Yes, Walter Ray is a genius. He coached Paul Gasek today. Paul Gasek has never had 8 strikes in his life, and tonight he's got 8 in a row, and Walter Ray is the reason. Yeah, it was just an honor to have Walter Ray with us. I marvel at his ability to continue to travel this country, driving every week. 40, 50,000 miles a year of driving and pursuing the sport. And it's just wonderful with the people today here, the juniors, seniors, the people that he coached. Signed a couple hundred autographs, and for a small town when somebody like that shows up. Boy, we honored. Absolutely honored. Well, this is an interesting match because the C bowler, Paul Gasick, who obviously is not expected to carry the team, has got a possible 300 game. This is a modified house shot. There are a lot of units up front. They're pretty tight side to side. There is a little swing if you can get outside the first arrow and get it back. But carry's always been tough here. It's a corner pin house. It's a 50-year-old center. That's what we like about it. A lot of ring and tens, a lot of swish and sevens. So you can get to the pocket, but you've got to play the pocket here. You've got to play the pocket. Let's see what B-Rob does for 6 in a row here. That was in a little. See that, it hung. And that messenger just couldn't get the 10 out. A lot of centers, you'd never see that pin stand. Here it's quite a bit. A lot of messengers the head pin will go in front and behind the 10. Paul Gasick will be up on lane 14, going for 9 in a row. It looks like the team in 4th place Track Bowling might have moved into the 2nd spot. Oh, that's a pretty good shot. Really a good wall shot for Paul. Great run, 8 in a row. Well, it's definitely going to be a dogfight. It looks like Track Bowling has moved into 2nd, but right now Mountaineer Vision is definitely holding the lead. Brian's mother and father are here tonight. His father, Mark, is an optometrist that owns Mountaineer Vision, and I'm wearing a pair of his glasses, and a lot of the bowlers in the league go to him for his services. Again, this league is sponsored by Jacqueline's Jewelers. We've got local sponsorship here, people getting aboard, scratch bowling here in Morgantown, putting up money, sponsoring teams. The word is out. We're going to build it here, we're going to maintain it here, and we're going to set the record straight for many of the small towns in this country that you've got to promote scratch bowling. It is the heart of the sport. It is imperative that local businesses and proprietors keep the sport alive with scratch bowling. Well, that 14's got a little hang spot, but Robinson's definitely in control. This is a point league. You get points for winning each game, points for beating your opponent for 3 games, team points for each game, and total points. So again, with a point league, really anything can happen from game to game. You know, if 3 bowlers shoot 240 the last game, make up 120 pins plus win points, they can get right back into the title situation here. Got a lot of students getting ready to start school here at West Virginia U. 29,000 college students within a mile, 2 miles of this facility, and every evening they're in here bowling, and we're honored to have many students from many countries here, many exchange students. Great school, great college tradition here, great football team, great basketball team, and we're all excited that the new season is starting. And we run the Dana Halgerson show here, the coach of our football team, and the Bob Huggins show, the coach of our basketball team. All do their radio shows from Suburban Lanes here in Morgantown, a small town, a great bowling center, a great school. Great game for Paul Gasick. Left a week 7 and a week 10 for 269, beating his opponent. Shot a very dismal 153. Right now, the only way Mountaineer Vision can be beat is the track team with Dave Varner, Les Sinclair, and Brandon Williams, our pro shop manager. Have to really start striking now at 2 games in. They're about 40 Peterson points behind, so if Mountaineer keeps up at this pace, they're going to be the league champion. Again, $4,500 for first place in a summer league, unheard of. $1,500 a bowler. And our local businesses here in Morgantown, along with the industry, have helped us promote league bowling here, and we're honored, so honored to have John Howard, great auto dealer here in Morgantown, Pat Stewart Realtors, Affordable Landscaping, Jacqueline's Jewelers, the Dominion Post newspaper, and of course Bud Light, Budweiser, Kegel, Turbo Grips, all these people, Vice Grips, Brunswick, Radical, Deviate, Storm, Rotogrip, 900 Global, Motive, 3G, KR, have all sponsored teams in our leagues, and the industry is just been so supportive. They want scratch bowling to exist, and we are going to set the precedent here in Morgantown when it comes to league play, so the rest of the country can get on board. Don't give up on scratch bowling. Well, Mike Malone just said something real nice to myself and Walter Ray, and he said 2 class acts. Well, one for sure. Walter Ray is very special, and what an honor for me to have watched him bowl as a young man in the early 80s. You know, up till 96, when I was player service director, I had a chance to watch him climb the ladder. And of course, the last 21 years, I haven't been on the tour, but what an unbelievable record. 102 scratch tournament wins in the PBA alone, and he feels he's won close to 200 tournaments in his life. I find it absolutely remarkable. 200 scratch tournament wins against the best that have ever lived. While Alan Johnson's team has fallen 200 pins behind in team total, although he is putting the game out for 260, his team needs a miracle now to catch Mountaineer Vision. They've got to bowl back-to-back 730s or 740s. somewhere in that area. They got to shoot close to 1,500 in the next 6 to have any kind of a chance, and I don't see it happening. Right now, Mountaineer Vision definitely in the lead, and Track Bowling looks like they're going to be in second. Stefano's, our 5-star gourmet dining restaurant downstairs here at Suburban Lanes. Fine wine cellar and just the greatest food here in Morgantown. What a wonderful place. And hey, Greg, and if I had a girlfriend, I'd be taking her to Stefano's. Believe me. And then, of course, she would have to buy dinner. But it looks like neither's going to happen. All right, B-Rob, so now you're getting ready to leave to go bowl in Coldwater, and then where are you going from there?
There is Jim Petzel's going to have a tournament up in Pittsburgh.
What house?
Nesbitt's. It's his normal track scratch challenge. It's a
Jimmy
nice little
Petzel.
tournament. Yeah.
For any of you bowlers listening, Jimmy Petzel, longtime bowler from the Pittsburgh area, running another tournament as the Nesbitts. And Rich and Russ Nesbitt have been great proprietors for, what, 40, 45 years?
Since pretty much the Pyramids have been around.
Since the Pyramids. I know them both. Fine, fine gentlemen.
Hi, Paul.
Great promoters of the sport in the Pittsburgh area. So if any of you are listening and you want to have a little fun, get over there to Nesbitt's.
I think the Meadows is going on the same weekend as well. It's after Jim's tournament. I think it's Sunday and Monday, I believe. There's usually the Meadows tournament for like $4 grand. I had to look and see. But then after that, there's 2 regionals. I bowl Wapakoneta and then Troy.
Wapakoneta, Ohio.
It's near Coldwater.
And Troy, Michigan.
No, Troy, Ohio.
Troy, Ohio.
Troy, Ohio is north of Dayton by about 30 minutes, and
Yeah.
Wapakoneta is probably another hour north of Troy. It's close to Coldwater. It's about like 30, 40 minutes from Coldwater in that area.
I got it. So Wapakoneta is close to Coldwater.
Yeah.
And if for any of you people that are listening, you have no idea what we're talking about. Wapakoneta and Coldwater?
Hey, they're big. Hey, it's good regionals. There's 16 lane houses, Larry.
There's 16 lane houses. Room for 96 bowlers. And thank God for the PBA and their regional program. Thank God. What a wonderful program if you're a serious bowler, especially here in our region. Anywhere within 400 miles of Morgantown, my God, you go south into the Carolinas or northwest over to Michigan or Indiana, and then east into Pennsylvania, New York, and New Jersey, Maryland, Delaware, Virginia, North and South Carolina. Perfect area to live in if you like to bowl. About 8 hours from literally dozens and dozens of tournaments.
Well, you know the Hardings, don't you, Larry?
No, I'm sorry, I don't know the Hardings, but it sounds like they're a great family and they do a great job.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure that anybody who's bowled in their facility and knows them is proud to go back.
It's one of the best, when it was a regional, now it's an extra frame. It was the best regional in the central and probably in the entire country.
Really?
It's a 16-lane center. In fact, the town basically, they get up for it because it's such a small town. That's what they look forward to.
And where is this? Wapakoneta?
No, Coldwater.
Oh, Coldwater. Coldwater.
Well, Wapakoneta is a good one too, but Coldwater, you can't beat Coldwater.
You like Coldwater. Now, when you stay in the hotel there, do they have any hot water?
Maybe.
I'm just kind of curious about that because I hate taking a shower in cold water. But I don't mean it about the city. It's just in cold water.
Right.
Or you know what I mean.
I understand. Well, you got to go to Wapakoneta for
Yeah.
the hot water. All right, Paul, get one. So, yeah.
See, we need a little comedy when we do this.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
I do know
It
what
can't
you're
be all serious, all ringing tens and get the quarter scale and we're looking at the mass bias and the RG and the differential. Yes, we can do that.
Yeah.
But we need to be a little more humorous, Brian,
Okay.
during these live streamings.
Okay, I could do that. I like the fact that Paul shot 269 and then left an 810. How about that for some comedy?
With the revs off of Paul's hand, 810s are very common. But Paul's amazing. He throws very little ball, but he's still pretty good.
Absolutely.
You know, he can average between 190 and 200. He's an avid bowler. And, you know, he's our USBC director now. I mean, he's got a position in the state. And bowls 4 leagues a week. And that's what we want.
You know, Paul loves bowling, you know, and he's pretty accurate. You know, he doesn't miss by he doesn't miss by arrows, you know, normally. He just doesn't have the power to keep up with the kids today. You know, that's the only issue.
Yes, yes. Well, let's see if B-Rob can strike on this tighter lane here. Entry angle on 14 is a little critical. He's had a couple of rip 7s, couple of ringing 10s, couple of blower 10s. Can't quite get the ball into the pocket. And Gold got the 10 out that time. 6 went in the sideboard, took the 10 out, come out of the flat gutter. That ball was a little deeper, hit the pocket a little steeper. Maybe he's got to get in the oil a little more, go a little straighter on that lane. That was a pretty good shot there, Brian.
Yeah, I like that one off my hand.
Did you like that shot?
I did. It was.
Did you play that shot? Is what I want to know. Or was that a mistake that struck? I want to know.
All my shots are a mistake, Larry.
I didn't say that, Brian.
Well, you said add some comedy to it.
Well, yeah, a little comedy, yes, yes.
All right.
Now, what do you think your chances are now that this team can't strike? You think you're going to win?
You know, I think our chances are pretty good, but you know, my goal is to just keep throwing good shots. Like I told Dad, you know, it's not over till it's over. We just got to keep striking because you know what?
Yeah.
Justin's team's only 6 points behind us. I know they lost the last game, but that doesn't mean they can't come back and. Yeah. We got to get as many as we can. We can't. We just got to.
So let me ask you a question. Let's say hypothetically you win tonight. You're going to get $1,500. And is that what you're going to net, $1,500?
Well, whatever you put in each night, it would be 30 a night, so 30 times 15 is what? Yeah. Whatever, subtract that. That's still pretty good.
But you forgot to subtract what I charge to sit with me here in the booth.
Well, I was going to give you a hair transplant.
And that's 33%. So you're really only going to net 1,000, and you're going to give me 500 for letting you sit here.
Oh, okay.
And what do you think about that?
Well, is that good towards your hair transplant? Or?
Yes, it does.
Okay, all right. Well,
I'll do anything for hair. Believe me when I tell you. If I could steal 500 for a new rug.
Look at John Eisner here.
What is John Eisner saying now? Humorous?
You know who's really good? The John Eisner guy. And he says, what does B-Rob think about his chances now that John Eisner is gone? Well, I mean, you know.
I know about my chances. Number one, I'm going to end up in jail because I lost my lawyer. Number two, I'm going to have nobody to pick on anymore because now that John Eisner's gone, everyone else in here looks at their target but him.
Oh.
So let me see. What else can I say about John Eisner?
He doesn't miss 5 spares in a game?
No, I'm not going to say anything about his spare shooting. I'm going to leave him alone because I know I'm going to get sued for defamation of character immediately. We miss you, John. I have no one to pick on, John, since you left here. Now that you graduated law school and stopped working to control the service counter here, I have no one to pick on. I'm in a depression. So I need you to come back here so I could pummel you into the ground. John Eisner, one of our Brunswick staffers here in West Virginia, has done a great job for Brunswick. And we ran a Brunswick event about a month ago here. Great tournament. Brunswick helped us put up $5,000 of added money for our annual scratch event here in Morgantown. It was won by Tom Source out of Buffalo. He came down here with Brad Angelo and won the event. He was so thrilled. Probably one of the lowest scoring title matches in bowling history. I think he beat
157 to 153.
157 to 153, beat Tim Foy.
They had 310 combined, Larry, minus 90.
I felt so bad for Tim because he's such a competitor. I know how much he wanted to win. But it was one of those games where after we re-oiled and they came up the step ladder, the pair just became impossible.
And 13 and 14 is always a notoriously bad pair in this house. I know we talk about the end pairs, but
yes.
13 and 14, I mean, that's why I think the scores are a little low on our pair. I mean, I know we're striking, but,
yeah.
you know, I think things are just going our way today, I'd say. But
well, you're bowling pretty good. I think Paul Gasick got you loose. Yeah. You know, anytime your C bowler is striking like that and, you know, starts with an 8-bagger in game 2, and he's not known for that.
Right.
And he's bowling pretty good, too, incidentally. Let me tell you something. He's flushing most of his shots.
You know, that new ball's been pretty good, and I think...
yes, he bought a pit bull.
Yeah.
He bought a pit bull, and it's picking up pretty good.
You know, I think the other thing is you know, I mean, Paul's usually going to shoot 190, 200. He's going to have like a double and make his spares. But, you know, every once in a while, you know, you just get your ball to carry. He's having a night. And
yeah.
Like I said, let it ride. Just keep riding the wave.
I'm watching Brandon Williams throw the verdict. What a ball that is. That thing looks like an absolute monster. Just came out a few weeks ago. So much great equipment has come out in this particular segment of introductions. And, boy, they all look good. It's amazing. The ball companies have really been so supportive, obviously, nationally, with over a couple of thousand staff members. The tournaments they sponsor, PBA Tour, Ladies Tour, Scratch Bowling, state tournaments, leagues. We're just so honored to have a great relationship with all of them. I've got a lot of friends in the industry that I've known for many, many years, a lot of veterans. I couldn't add them all up. I had a chance to see them in Nashville and at the Ace Mitchell Trade Show, and what an honor for me to see many of these lifers just like myself. You know, we all had different ways to stay in the industry, and it's just great to see the veterans that work for our manufacturers and sponsors. Well, B-Rob's out of the box with a 4-bagger. It looks like his team's locking this thing up. That means I get some money for a toupee. I can't wait.
I think we need to talk about that last shot I threw there. I missed by like an arrow right, and it overhooked and still tripped the 4-9 out.
Yes.
That was for you, Larry.
Thank you.
And
I understand, because I always miss by an arrow either way. So thank you very much for the vote of confidence.
You're welcome, Larry. Anything for you, my friend.
I always felt, as a young man, that I could hit the same board 99.9% of the time, more than Walter Ray or any bowler in history. Now, why would you think that, Brian?
I don't know.
You want to know why?
Tell me why, Larry.
Because the boards back then were 5 inches wide. And I could hit that same board every time I bowled, Brian.
Oh, yeah, just keep it between arrows, Larry.
Just keep it between arrows.
Oh, Brooklyn.
That was a great shot by Paul. That's called missing the building. Because the minute I gave him a compliment, he forgot how to bowl.
You gave him the Bo Burton kiss of death.
I gave him the Bo Burton kiss of death.
It's like,
and I also gave him his hairdo, which is definitely marginal. So he misses the head pin on the left, and he's bald. What do you think about that?
Well, those are all accurate statements there, Larry.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hit the head pin.
There it is.
All right, Paul. Hey, Paul. Paul. So yeah, that was an exciting Scratch League event at the end of the year when we live streamed it at the end of the year when Malik's team just squeaked by.
Well, it was a close match, and then it really boiled down to a 9-pin being missed late in the match, and they missed winning by 9 pins, and the 9-pin miss was worth 11. You know?
That could have changed the whole match.
Oh yeah, yeah. You know, I was telling some people the other day that even though we're a very small town, we're a 24-laner, 4 restaurants, unbelievable sports bars, 3 sports bars, and 5-star dining at Stefano's. But the street that we're on, 38,000 cars a day drive by this bowling center. 38,000 cars a day. In the small town of Morgantown. And Suburban Lanes is an institution in this town for great dining, great food, entertainment, and of course with the Dana Halgerson show, Brian's back, and the Bob Huggins show airing from here, and the stadium being right across the street. When's our first home game? In 2 weeks, we'll have 65,000 people at the first home game here?
Yeah. It's not this weekend. It should be next weekend.
Right.
It's going to be a neutral site against Virginia Tech. I believe it's going to be somewhere in Maryland, I believe.
Okay.
I forget. I have to look at the schedule, but I know it's at a neutral site somewhere up in Maryland.
I got it.
I think Baltimore, maybe. Yeah, it'll be a tough game. Virginia Tech's a very good team. They... You know, there's a bitter rival. I don't know if you know the history of West Virginia. I mean, there's obviously the West Virginia Pitt rivalry, the backyard brawl, but Virginia Tech wasn't very well liked by West Virginia, so it's a big rivalry back in the Big East days.
I was never much into college sports, and even though I've been here a while, I mean, I'm into it a little bit because everyone around me is. But when it comes to rivalries, I grew up and still live the greatest rivalry in sports. And if you grew up in Windsor Locks, Connecticut, there was only 2 teams. You were either a Red Sox fan or a Yankee fan.
Or the 1% that were Mets fans.
Well, very seldom. But the bottom line was you're either a Red Sox fan or a Yankee fan. And I have been a Yankee fan for 62 years. And when we lose to the Red Sox...
Oh, it's at the Redskins Stadium. That's where they're.
Oh, at the Redskins Stadium. Okay.
So that'd be a big venue right there.
But last weekend the Yankees played the Red Sox and lost 2 out of 3. And I kid you not, I could not go to sleep either one of those nights. I woke up in anguish, upset after they blew the first game, and they had taken the lead. And then they're leading 6-3, and the Yanks lose 9-6. The bullpen gives up 6 runs, and. So I know about rivalries.
Yeah, absolutely. No, Yankees, Red Sox. That's pretty well up there. You know, I know the Reds. They talk about Redskins, Cowboys, but I know the Giants, Cowboys is the big one. And,
now I want to see something here. I haven't called a 300 game since we installed this live streaming device, and I expect a 7-bagger from you right now, Brian. Okay. Now, Brian's going to give me 300 here. Let's see if we can get lucky. And. Show everyone how real good Brian Robinson is. He's coming alive at 27, just won his first regional, and never really was a major factor when he bowled, but right now he's got a winning shot, and he's getting it together, and we're proud of him. That's in. Ooh, look at that. See that ball? Yep, I know. Kiss of death. I did it to him. Pretty good shot. Got it in a little. Carry's tough here. You get it in and hit the oil a little early. You can leave a flat 10 even with a high rev rate like that. Here's 550 off his hand, and just can't get the corner out. My friend John Eisner, who I'm live chatting with, about 4 months ago, I believe in February, got out of the box here with the Brunswick Edge Pearl, and got out of the box with the first 22, and went 300, 289, and a very tough house really is to carry. And I want to congratulate John on that performance. I didn't see it. I was in Florida, but to get out of the box with the first 22 is some real good bowling. And my son Michael called me about 12, 13 years ago and said, "Dad, I was 6 frames away from infamy." I says, "What are you talking about?" He says, "Well, I got out of the box with the first 30. I said, "The first 30? What'd you leave?" He said, 7 pin, 7 pin. And I struck out for 268. I shot 868. I said, "So you went 300, 300, 268. He said, "That's right." I said, "Where'd you bowl it?" He said, "Shaker Bowl in Longmeadow, Massachusetts, Dad." And I said to him, "Boy, Mike, that's got to be the high 3 games for the state of Massachusetts." And his answer to me was, "Well, not really, Dad. Some kid had 877 tonight, but he didn't win any brackets. He drew me his first 2 games. He went 299, 299, 279. And in his 299s, he drew Michael." So Michael shoots 868. It's not high in the league, and the guy with 877 doesn't win any brackets. Well, I still don't know how to describe that one, but I guess it does happen every once in a while. 877, no bracket wins. Try it some night. Let me know. Now B-Rob's on lane 13. A little more hook on 13. The ball will come off the spot a little bit and move left. On 14, it just seems to hang a little. And that's the ring and 10 of the weak 10 lane. So let's see what happens here on 13. Oh, that one hung too. See that? Ball's on the back end, making a little move, and it stops. Little carry down right there. Got to get around the corner a little more. Probably got to go more aggressive ball, or move right with the eyes and feet, or slow down and tilt it a little more. One of the 3. But they've got a hang spot there now, and it might stay. Very good spare shooter. Uses his thumb for his spares and just throws rockets right at him. That's the way to do it. Hard and straight. Big Neil Schultz on 14, just strapping it hard as he can. A couple of 9-pin spare misses. Boy, I hate to see that. He's bowling a pretty good game. Double 9 miss, double 9 spare 9 miss strike. Probably hit the pocket every ball, shooting 194 in the 7th. Should be shooting 215 in the 7th. The mortal sin, missing 1-pinners. You cannot give away 11 pins on 1 shot. And a lot of bowlers just don't seem to get it. They give them away, and their strikes are for naught. Let's see if Brian slows down a little on this lane. Tries to top. Oh, he's on a perfect rack. Look, on lane 14, no 10 pin. That's what I call the perfect rack. Okay, let's see what he does here. I say it looks like he's going to slow down a little bit, try to tilt it a little more, get it to come around the corner, change that entry angle a little, and get the 10 out. Let's see what happens. Look at that, ringing 10 again. Amazing. That little hang spot right there. There it is, 6 right around the belly of the 10. The dreaded ringing 10. Again, really looking forward to the ride tomorrow. I love the ride. When you're on 80 and you get to exit 309 at Stroudsburg, and you take 209 north for about 40 miles. You go through the town of Milford, Pennsylvania, and up to Matamoros by the Port Jervis, New York area, and then you get on 84 into Hartford, and you go over the Hudson River, over the Beacon Bridge, and look down the Hudson, and just a breathtakingly beautiful ride. But the best part of the ride of all is it's only 10 miles longer than if I was to take 70 east, catch 95, the New Jersey Turnpike, and go over the George Washington Bridge and pay $110 in tolls. So you're saving about $220 round trip. You're going through the Poconos. The foliage in October on that ride is the most beautiful thing you ever want to see if you're traveling east, trying to get around New York City and stay out of the traffic. And Stroudsburg is, when you get to Milford, the town of Milford is just stunningly beautiful and quaint. And oh, I love the ride. I've been taking it since 1973 and just fell in love with it when I was a kid. And now, because of where I live, I started taking it again. I actually hadn't been on it in about 20 years, up till 3 years ago. And I took a look at the map and I said, I can take that ride again. I'm going to do it. I had several favorite rides in my career. I think my favorite of all time was taking 15 south out of Las Vegas. And when I got to Barstow, I would get off at Highway 58 at Barstow, and take it through Mojave, climb Tehachapi, and come down into Bakersfield, and then take 5 north up to Oakland. And I love that ride so much. Used to go by Edwards Air Force Base and the Borax plant. But the Edwards Air Force Base in '93, the shuttle was landing at 2:30 in the morning, and I had known about it. And I left Vegas at 10 that night in my 18-wheeler, and I got out there by Edwards at 2 in the morning, and I had a ladder on the back of the 18-wheeler, and I got on the roof with a lawn chair, and I sat and watched the shuttle come into the heavens with no lights around me at all, where you could see every single star. And I saw the shuttle come in and land at Edwards, and the sound booms, and what an absolute thrill that was. I love it out there in Death Valley. Miss it dearly. I haven't taken a ride now in 17 years. I really want to do it again over the next few summers. Just get in a car in Vegas and take that ride to Bakersfield, and maybe stop in Fresno and go up to Oakland and San Francisco, and oh, what a beautiful part of the United States. Miss it dearly. Well, this match here in front of us looks like it's over. Mountaineer Vision's got a 300-pin lead going into the last game, and they're going to be the league champion right now. $4,500 for first. It's a lot of money in a summer league, but that's what we do here. We make sure that our bowlers have a chance to bowl competitively for solid prize funds. Also, league officers are not allowed to take any money. If you're president, vice president, secretary, or treasurer, you put up your time. We do not allow any officer to take anything out of the prize fund. That's the way we do it. The bowlers get a 100% payback of their prize fund money, and we feel we have to. It's important that the league and the bowlers come first, not the officers. I don't say that to knock any officers or any other formats, but we do the records ourselves here in-house, and we make sure that our bowlers get rewarded for bowling their summers with us and winters. And naturally, if they are an officer, and being that I run the pro shop here, we're certainly willing to do something for them or their wives or their children. If they're going to buy a ball, we try to take care of them and give them a real fair discount for the time they volunteer for our leagues. It's very important to show that appreciation somehow, either with open bowling or some dinners. And we like to do that as well. So it's not all take. We like to give something back to them for volunteering their time. When our Scratch League starts September 7th, we will be live streaming. Amanda Green is bowling in our Scratch League. She just signed up for 4 years at West Virginia University. And Amanda Green won a pro women's stop a few years ago in 2015. And we are absolutely thrilled to have Amanda Green bowling. That is just an absolute honor. And Chad Gable's bowling from Cumberland, who last year or the year before finished second in the Peterson and was one of the large group that went to the USBCs this past year with Mike Rose and Adam Barta. And we want to congratulate Mike, who works for Ace Mitchell's, and Adam Barta. What a fantastic man for winning 2 Eagles, team all events and scratch team. And Chad Gable bowls with that group that all bowls USBC every year. Chad's going to bowl this year. Amanda, and of course Brian's in the league. So we've got a PWBA champion, a PBA regional champion, and we're honored to have that happen. Looks like you're in, Brian.
It's looking pretty good.
Looks like I get $500 for a new toupee tonight.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
I knew I could chisel something out of you before you went through cold water.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anything for you, Larry.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you. I like that last ball you threw. It looks like it recovered.
Better,
It
yeah.
didn't hang there. The other ball started hanging on the carry down. It's hitting the wrong angle, even a lot of 10s. The ball's just setting up early, and it's just the 6 ain't doing the right thing.
Yeah, and I tried to go a little off to retain the energy, and it just made it hook more down lane. And then when I tried to move left, it had no chance. And so I tried a just a little bit cleaner ball.
Yes.
Some with not so much surface.
Did you say you tried to have your ball retain energy, Brian?
Yes. Yes. I always look for, I mean, you want your ball to read early and not like just never hook like a plastic ball, but
Yes.
you still want it to have energy going through the pins.
Yes. You know, when I was a young man bowling, if somebody said to me in 1968, Larry, your ball needs to retain energy, they would have been thrown out of the bowling center.
I believe it.
Are you aware of that, Brian?
I can believe
We
that.
would have said they are sick, get them out of here. Retain energy. Okay. What else? Give me some more sayings for today's game that I don't know about. What else?
Something about the ball coming off the spot.
The ball coming off the spot. Retain energy.
Reading the mid lane properly.
Reading the mid lane properly. The mid lane.
Like,
Now, in my day and age, the mid lane was the middle lane of a 3-lane highway.
Yeah.
The mid lane.
But it's like in between. It's not the back part of the lane. It's not the front. I'll give you an example. And the ball reps will all tell you this. The front part of the lane will control the back part of the lane. The front 30 feet will control the back 30 feet, because if your ball doesn't do the right thing there, how's it supposed to control itself off the end? It's the part of the lane it touches first.
Are you sure about that?
I'm pretty positive on that.
Now, what if I was lane man and I controlled the lane? What would you say then? Would you say Larry's controlling the lane?
Well, you would probably wouldn't oil the first 30 feet.
That's
you'd oil the back 30
That's
feet.
exactly right.
My ball would hook, and then it locks it.
And I would control the lane. Yes, yes. Yes, I love the new terminology today. It's amazing. Wonderful to listen to, though, when the young people describe their ball reaction so differently than we did. And it's fascinating, really. I love hearing it. It's different, fascinating, and they know what they're talking about. They really do. Oh, yeah, that ball's a lot better now. That's the first time that ball did that on lane 14. They come off the spot. Come off the spot. Is that what I just said? And it made a little move left, and it hit flush instead of the weak 10. Now that came off the spot.
Yes.
Yes, it did.
I was showing a regular green inception.
Yeah.
I just switched to a compass.
You switched to a compass.
It's a little cleaner, symmetrical. Same layout, because I want the ball to still. I don't want the ball to really be too flippy. I want it to kind of read and just be real smooth. It's 49 feet. You don't need a lot of back end. You just want your ball to hold.
Yeah, that one finished pretty good, though. It didn't hang. The other ones are hanging a little for the 10 and the carry down. That thing cut through it a little bit.
Yeah.
It looked pretty good.
Absolutely. I don't know. Did you ever hear of going through the pins the right way?
Oh yes, I heard about going through the pins the
I don't know
right
if that
way.
was a thing back then. Yeah, we got one more game.
Now, do you get paid cash, Brian?
Tonight?
Yes.
Yes.
You do? Mm-hmm. So that means I get 500 tonight?
Well, I'm just gonna make it rain all over your head.
Thank you very much, Brian. Thank you.
Love you, Larry. I know. I actually like this view here. I can kind of see what's going on. I'm looking at what the lanes are doing, and
I like this view also. I think it's excellent. It's like a mini skybox. You're above everything. You can see everything clearly. Nobody gets in your way.
if you ever
right?
rename the Pro Shop, Larry, rename it the Skybox.
The Skybox.
Skybox Pro Shop.
Yes. Boy, the left side of the lane is not moving on 13 and 14. Normally, his ball, Johnson's ball, really comes off the oil pretty hard, and it's just laying there, and it's definitely needs more aggressive cover and core. Look at that ball set up. Now we're going to see 300. Brian Robinson's going to give us 300, ladies and gentlemen. There's no doubt in my mind. Brian's getting high-fived by everybody because they know he's going to win the league.
Big Larry.
What's going on? How are you, sir? Nice to see you.
How's your son?
Good. Anyways, it looks like Mountaineer Vision's got it locked up. Probably the track team will finish second. Pretty good money for second, $3,000 for second. But it could be close between them and Stefanos for second place. Great prize fund for a summer league. Amazing amount of money when you think about it. $4,500 for first in the trios league. Oh, Brian's locked in now. Now he's got that ball finishing off the oil, and that could be real interesting now because he's definitely locked in, and maybe we'll get the 300 game this game. Yes, he looks locked in. Let's see what happens. It's a long way away, but you never know. So now you're driving to Coldwater tomorrow?
No. Tomorrow's Wednesday. I probably won't leave till at least Thursday, maybe Friday.
Thursday, maybe Friday. Now, they have Pro-Am events there too?
Yes.
And do you bowl those?
Sometimes, just depends on probably with extra frame, and there's going to be so many other national tour guys that'll have bowling and stuff.
Who's some of the national tour guys bowling
Well,
this
Walter's
weekend?
bowling.
Walter Ray, B.J. Moore.
I believe so. I know EJ and Ronnie. And
Tom Smallwood.
Smallwood.
EJ's bowling.
Mm-hmm.
EJ's great. Yeah. What a bowler. Yeah. And Ronnie Russell.
Yep, Ronnie should be there.
And who else?
I'd say I have to look at the list, but there should be several other pros, like Dom Barrett will be there.
Barrett will be there.
Tommy Jones. I actually crossed with Dom in Delaware. He's, boy, I tell you what, does that guy throw it really
Boy,
good.
no, I like watching him bowl. How about that game? Dom Barrett is as pure as it gets.
Hey,
I like Dom Barrett. Dom Barrett would have made it in any age and any environment. That game is beautiful, absolutely wonderful, beautiful stroke.
I mean, it's just like butter. He just
Yeah.
he gets it to the top of the swing.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like he ever grabs it from the
Yeah.
top. He just goes
Yeah.
down and
He'd have made it in the 60s, 70s. He'd have made it with plastic. He'd have made it with urethane. It's just too pure. Those shots are too good. Yeah.
it's amazing how it's just silky smooth at the
I
bottom.
know. Is he smooth?
And
Those
he's got-
limeys, the limeys come over from England are taking all the U.S. people's money all of a sudden. What do you think?
Well, eventually it'll turn around. Don't worry.
Boy, they're coming over here. Mika, they're all taking our money home. The U.S. boys better get going. The Europeans have caught us, the Australians. It's amazing if you look at the last 15 years and how the foreign countries have closed the gap. I remember 40 years ago it wasn't even thought about. We never thought they'd get close to us.
I think a lot of coaching overseas. I think
Oh,
countries
yeah.
are wanting their bowlers to be really competitive
Oh,
and
yeah.
have a chance. I think
Oh,
that's
yeah.
a big part of it as
I'm
well.
glad too.
Coaching, yeah.
Bowling should be worldwide and it should be competitive.
I agree.
Well, let's see if Brian can give us a four-bagger here. This ball's really giving him a good reaction. Let's see what he does. Oh, that's a good shot. Oh my God, it did hook. See, that lane was laying up. I didn't think it would hook the back end. I thought it would sort of sail into the pocket solid. And a little soft with the speed. That ball's a little more aggressive than his other ball. And he got fooled on that lane. And that is a lane that's been hooking a little more than lane 14. And probably a little transition. And the perfect way to wipe out a triple is big tonk. Perfect way to wipe out a triple. Little 6 and 2 and good night. Oh, that verdict looks good. I just watched Brandon Williams throw that ball. Boy, does that tilt up and come around that corner. What a nice ball. The verdict. Fantastic ball. Last week he had 969 in the league right out of the box. And that ball is going to be a big seller. There's so much good stuff out, my God. Yeah, there's our weak 10 again. Get it in a little on that lane. Ball's a little too steep, entering the pocket. Both lanes are just different enough to maybe need two different balls. That's the ball Johnson should have been using all night. See, that ball comes off the spot, breaks towards the pocket at 40 feet. He didn't go to that ball though this game, and it's a bad ball choice. All of a sudden, he's got the right piece of equipment. Just a little too late. Justin Malik with 4 in a row on lane 12, our general manager here. Throwing the Brunswick Radical Tremendous. What a ball that is. That's a monster. Oh, whoa. Stone. 4-9 with the 7. Stone. He's going to throw this hard and straight through the booyah, about 22 miles an hour, right at it, thumb in the ball. Pretty good shot. Whoa, not enough. That ball went down there about 23-8. Frozen rope. Well, let's see if Johnson can bail out his series here. Really got a good game. Probably the best lefty in the area. Beautiful stroke. Just got a little confused the first 3. Got an aggressive ball now here. It should come off that oil pretty good. Let's see what happens. Oh, yeah. There it is. Boy, if he used that ball earlier, might have kept the match close. But a bad ball choice. 300 pins behind with 5 frames to go. Not tonight. No, boy. Ryan's got 3 bad shots in a row on that lane. Or on the last 3 shots, excuse me. 3 bad shots in a row. Started with a triple. 6-2, 7-2. And hopefully he'll make the spare. Justin Malik on 4 in a row. This is a big shot for his team. They got a shot for second. No. Oh, my God. Hit the dry, crossed the head pin, got a strike for a 5-bagger. Looked like me on that one. Well, we're down to our last 3 frames here for our last summer league. Our winter leagues start next week, and of course the big league a week from this Thursday. The Morgantown Scratch Classic, 16 teams, $16,000 in added prize money. All teams sponsored. Our 3rd year of this league format. I also did this format when I lived in Florida and had 4 very successful years doing it there, and brought it here to West Virginia, and I'm just honored that the Boulders gave me a chance to promote the sport, and of course the support from my friends in the industry, especially the people at Ace Mitchell's. What a wonderful, wonderful company. I've been doing business with Ace Mitchell's for 50 years. I knew Ace Mitchell as a young man, knew his son-in-law Dave Grau, and of course Jeff Mraz at Ace Mitchell's is one of the finest people I've ever met in my life. What a great example he sets for the industry. Loves Scratch Bowling, has sponsored many bowlers on the PBA Tour and tournaments in the region, and they believed in my project. They helped me, and I just believe that the people that have made Scratch Bowling possible here in Morgantown are lifelong friends of mine. Tony Mendiola and Wes Pye, some of my newer friends, John Hill and Steve Todd, and John Jameson. What a great company he runs, and Lori Mraz, the daughter of Dave Bernhardt, and just the list goes on and on and on. Scott Wilbur over at Motive, and Chris Chartrand at Kegel. What a company. Larry Clemmy and Mark Davidson, or Mark Davis, excuse me, and Steve Cross, my dear friend who worked with me on the PBA Tour, my ex-teammate John Janowitz, 3-time Eagle winner, probably going in the Hall of Fame real soon, should be. All those companies I mentioned have done so much for bowling, scratch bowling around the world. And when I went to Florida, I worked for Kegel for 9 months when it was in Sebring, before it was in Lake Wales. And John Davis gave me a chance to work for his company, and I'll never forget him for that. Such a good man. Did so much for bowling. He's dearly missed. And the list goes on and on. I just can't believe how many people have went out of their way. Joe Farley at Ebonite, my God, and Tommy Laskow. I couldn't get 2 better representatives of the bowling industry than those 2. There's Bill Chrisman and Barbara Chrisman, and just everyone involved at Storm, Ebonite, and Brian Graham at Brunswick, Billy Orlikowski. The names go on and on. I'm very fortunate to know all these people, and they've all been so good to us here in Morgantown. So good to us. Whoa. Oh, I forgot Mike Stout, my friend for 35 years. I met him in the 83 Hoinky. We shoot up, and he stomped me pretty good for about 500 a game. I went back to the hotel. I couldn't sleep. I went in the next morning, got Irv Hoinky to cash a check for me. Got most of my money back, but a couple of hundred. And it was a plane leaving for Hartford in an hour and a half. And I looked at Stout, said, "You got me for 200. Thank you for letting me get close. I'm on the next plane." And every time we see each other, we talk about that match 35 years ago in Cincinnati, and now he's got the great company KR. What a great company, and now they're affiliated with Ebonite. And, you know, I got all these stories about all these people, and it's amazing, really, when I see them in Nashville or at the Ace Mitchell Trade Show, how good they are to this industry and how much they do for the industry. And again, we're so lucky to have all the names and companies that I mentioned. And they're always invited here to Morgantown. They'll be coming here during the league season. We'll take them to dinner at Stefano's and reminisce. That's all you got to do, Brian. Trust it. Get those 3 bad shots there in the middle. Those are mental errors. That's an easy pair of lanes right there. Even though the lanes are a little different, plenty of room. And but I think you had to match one. Didn't care. You know, when you lock it up, you sort of lose a little bit of that concentration. Okay, we're going to close it off as soon as we get an official winner here, but we are going to wait because on 11 and 12, Justin Malik has got the first 7, and he went to 14 pounds, had a bad finger. He's sort of 14-pound radical tremendous, which really is tremendous. And we'll see if we can keep the camera on him over there and see if he shoots 300. It'd be kind of neat if he does. I love to watch 300 games. Still do all these years. I saw the first 300 tie. Pete Weber against Tom Baker in Denver in '81. And that was fun to watch. Let me tell you something. I had never seen it. I think it was the first, if I'm not mistaken. And that was absolutely thrilling to watch that way back around 36 years ago. Let's see, that looks good. No, we can. See, you get in a little on that oil and hit that puddle a little early, and that's 6 to lay in a flat gutter in this house. Entry angle is pretty critical here. Some of the newer houses with the tighter back ends, that's an automatic strike. But here you gotta be a little more pocket playing ability rather than just getting it to the pocket. And Justin missed it by a foot. My general manager still can't make a 10-pin. I'm going to have to give him a lecture. Oh, yeah. That verdict is going to be a good one. Brandon likes that one. That was one of my favorite movies, The Verdict with Paul Newman. Never mind. I won't get into it. Well, Mountaineers locked it up. It is official. And again, we want to congratulate Brian, Paul Gasig, Neil Schultz, who's subbing for Danny Doyle, and Brian Robinson's mom and dad, the owners of Mountaineer Vision. And, very supportive of our facility here. They sponsored several teams in several leagues. One in the Big Scratch League, the Mountaineer Vision team, and again, the people at Jacqueline's Jewelers. Thank you so much for supporting our Summer League program. Again, to the staff and the owner of Jacqueline's Jewelers, Tom Licciardi, on behalf of all of us here at Suburban, we really want to thank you for getting involved with the scratch bowling this summer. And I have to get over there and buy myself a watch, really. I saw some watches over there that were out of this world. I love them and very affordable. And I'm thinking about going over there and getting myself a nice watch. And I don't know what I'm going to put on it. I want to put something on the back of it. Don't know what it is yet, but I think I'm going to go over there and get a nice watch for myself. Something real pretty. What a wonderful, wonderful store. For any of you locals that are listening, go over to Jacqueline's and take a look at the beautiful array of jewelry. And oh, what a store. It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Love it. He worked on my PBA ring for me, and my 300 ring that's 50 years old, and my PBA Hall of Fame ring. He cleaned them up and made them look beautiful for me, and I dirty them up. Sometimes they look pretty beat up because if I'm using a ball spinner or something, I keep them on. But he cleaned them up for me and made them look brand new. It's a great place, and we're honored that they decided to get involved in our wonderful sport of 10-pin bowling. There's Amy Beth Koval from Koval Plumbing. What are you doing, Amy Beth? You doing any good tonight?
Trying.
You trying? You doing any good?
So, bowling Rossi tonight.
How you bowling? What's your 3-game total?
170, 244, 170. I beat him 2 out of 3.
170, 244, 170?
Yep.
Well, the middle game's real good, that's for sure.
Yeah. I beat him 2 out of 3. I'm up like 15 pins or something.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Yeah. Another one of our avid bowlers, Amy Beth Koval from Koval Plumbing and Heating. Super large distributor of plumbing products here in Morgantown and in Pennsylvania. And really great company. She's involved in bowling. She sponsors a league here as well on Mondays. And boy, we're so lucky that the local community has decided to get involved in our sport, and that was one of the things I tried to bring here was to get these people involved in the community in this sport. And fortunately, our owners, the Lorenz family, have been so supportive of bowling, and they gave me an opportunity to come here, and I'm honored to be part of the community here in Morgantown. And my friend Brian Robbins is here. Well, you won the league.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We managed to hold off Justin. They put on a charge too. And
did they get close to you?
Yeah, I think they're still going to end up being a few pins short. The one game that they lost, I think, hurt them. So.
I got it.
And the fact that we got all of our series and team points and everything, and we had knock more pins down than they did. So.
Yeah. Well, it's always a good thing to win before you go to a weekend of bowling. You're leaving on a high.
Right. Absolutely.
I always felt that when you get ready to bowl an event, if you bowled real good right before it versus you bowled terrible before it, you know, at least you're leaving on a good note. You bowled very well tonight. That ball fooled me. I kind of thought that ball would set up, and that one cut through it a little bit.
You know, it was weird.
Yeah, it is weird.
I had the front three, and then the one shot, both the big four and the 4-7-9 both shocked me. I threw them good. I moved.
I thought you threw them good. You got it in enough where I felt it would hold, and it came off the oil, and it still flipped a little hard.
Yeah, I was surprised. And then I moved up even more. Didn't throw the 3-6-10 the best, and then I finally got lined up. But it shocked me. I should have moved a little bit more, but I figured with the ball and down, I figured I could stay there, but I needed to still move. But
you see that reaction Johnson had with that ball when he switched?
Yeah.
I can't believe he didn't go to that ball. It's the only ball he had that would come off the oil. The other one's just laid there. If he started striking, he might have kept it close, but you guys beat him by 400 pins?
2,607 and 2,290. So we beat him
by 300.
300. So.
Yeah, you had to beat. They couldn't catch you.
No. The dozer. Wait, get in here, guys. Let's have our whole team in here.
What do you call him? The dozer?
Yeah, the bulldozer. We say he's got the magic bowling ball that expands and just bulldozes the pins over.
Paul Gasick, the dozer.
Yes. The bulldozer.
Yeah.
The bulldozer, baby.
And Neil Schultz, what is your nickname?
He's Bluto.
Bluto.
Mm-hmm. And we've called Dan Double D's nuts.
Double D's nuts. Well, thank God we're not a children's show
here. Dan. Hey, get Dan up here. Hey, Dan. Mom. Dad. Hey, Dad. Get Dan.
So, now, Neil, you sub for Double D?
Get Dan.
We kind of shared a spot.
You do.
So,
well, we got the winning team up here.
Yeah, we're getting Dan up here as
Paul
well.
Gasick, one of our USBC reps. And Paul is my neighbor. Yes. Isn't Paul lucky?
Yes,
Paul can look across the 10 or 15 acres and see Larry's little trailer up there in the woods. There's Double D.
And the winning team is here.
Double D, are you hobbling tonight?
I'm having meniscus surgery on Friday, Larry.
You're having meniscus
surgery. Yes. I tore my meniscus.
You tore? I'm sorry to hear that.
I am as well.
I didn't know you tore your meniscus. Yeah. When did you do that?
It's been hurting me all summer. It just kept getting worse and worse. And finally, I went to see the doctor, and he said, "Yeah, you've got something that needs to be fixed."
Well, the last thing I tore up was my checkbook because I had 40 checks bounced, but at least my meniscus is still pretty good. I still got a hell of a meniscus.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it's going to cost a couple grand to get my meniscus fixed. So
yes, I used to celebrate meniscus. It was a great holiday. I used to bounce all my checks every meniscus.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, nobody signed off on the sheet. They left it.
Here, we'll just.
Are we playing out tonight?
Yeah. I would assume.
So you guys got a lot of money coming, $4,500 tonight.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
I vote we use this shot on Thursday night.
Yeah, he wants this shot every week.
All year.
You like this shot, Neil?
Just a little bit.
Well, for a couple of thousand, maybe I'll accommodate you.
Here, if you want to look at give this to the front desk, and we'll show the scores we had tonight. We had. Do you want a copy, Dan?
Sure, I'd love a copy.
Here.
Unless, hey, Neil, you let me down. You said you've been bowling 900. Look at you.
I'm ready to look at some scores tonight. Neil Schultz, 257, 221, 194, 220 for 892 tonight. Pretty good bowling tonight.
Neil, you shot 892? You usually do that for 5 games instead of 4. Congratulations. Very nice.
Mr. Paul Gasick with the 269.
Paul Gasick, you guys really bowled very well. 835, 892, 880 for 2607. 200 over for 12 games. Excellent bowling. Smoked the other team. They didn't know what hit them. And he just ran away and hid. That's a good set when you're bowling for the money. I'd take 200 over and mail it in and let's see where you go with it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Very good set.
We bowled good tonight. It was a good team effort. Everybody picked up, you know, when I was bowling bad, somebody else picked me up. When they were bowling bad, I could pick everybody. You know, it just all worked out tonight. We bowled good and hung in there. And
Brian, don't fib to me. You couldn't possibly pick up either one of these.
That's true. That's
You
very
couldn't
true.
pick up Neil Schultz, and you couldn't pick up Paul Gasick if you had 7 bottles of Wheaties.
Listen, I didn't mean literally pick them up.
But that's what you just said. Didn't he say that, Neil?
I heard.
Paul, did he say that he was going to pick you up?
Yeah. Listen,
You should say, I could have carried my opponents, and then I'd say to you, you're going to carry those too? You're crazy.
well, we're gonna just hop in a wheelbarrow and I'm gonna wheel them around. That's how I'm gonna pick them up. All right.
You know why I do this? The way I joke like this on the air, and I'm going to tell you why. You're going to think I'm crazy, but I'm not.
Well, we know you're
There
crazy.
used to be a show, and it's on YouTube, and you could watch it the minute you go home, called Jackpot Bowling with Milton Berle. Now, Milton Berle was a famous comedian in the 50s and 60s. They called him Uncle Milton. So I started watching his show about 3-4 months ago on YouTube, and it's hilarious. I mean, he makes jokes with bowlers, and they say a very straight thing, and he adds comedy to it. So they're very down to earth and serious, and he's throwing out these shots at them, and some of it goes right over their head. They don't even know what he's saying. So I decided I would like to try it and be a Larry Milty, you know, just to try it. And I love doing it. I love to talk about bowling and make people laugh, and hopefully I can have some of our viewers laughing. It looked like there was 10 of them tonight, so either I put 10 of them in bed or 10 of them are laughing.
Well, you put one to bed because there's now only 9 watching.
So somebody left already and had enough. Good night. Have a nice evening. Thank you for watching. Anyways, I'm glad you guys won. You're avid bowlers. You deserve to win. It's always fun to win, plus some pretty good money for a summer league. How's that, $1,500?
That didn't hurt my feelings at all, Larry.
No. That's quite an evening.
We'll take it, Larry. We will take
Well,
it.
Jacqueline's Jewelers. Now remember, you guys, if you know anybody looking, getting married, want to watch a ring, a bracelet, a necklace, earrings, gold and silver and beautiful watches and jewelry, Jacqueline's Jewelers is the place to go in Morgantown, and they sponsored our league. They did a great job.
That's where I go. They
And,
take great good care of me. They have anytime I need jewelry or anything cleaned or sized up or anything fixed, they always take care of me.
Yeah, we're very
They're
lucky.
Very nice people.
Very
there.
lucky that they believe in scratch bowling. Very lucky. And who are you? Say it again. And how are you this evening?
Good.
And who are you watching bowl tonight?
Him,
Who's him?
my dad.
You watched your dad and you watched him win. Give me
Officially as
5.
of this morning.
Ah, really?
Had the hearing this morning.
Oh,
Adoption hearing.
very nice.
Cool.
Nice.
It's been a good day then. huh?
Yes.
I think.
So you watched him win. He bowled pretty good tonight, didn't he? Well, you're very pretty, you know. You're very pretty. Got a beautiful girl there.
I know.
I think we're gonna have to go in and have a celebratory eat and drink. I think. What do you think, guys?
We don't have that here in Morgantown. You're not allowed to drink in here or eat whatsoever. You got to leave immediately. Get out. We don't want to talk to you.
Do not pass go. Do not collect $200.
Yeah. Wait until 2 weeks from now when there's 400 people in here eating during a football game.
Oh my goodness. Oh my
And
goodness.
another 200 bowling, and there's 600 people in a 24-laner on a Saturday. What do you think?
Yeah.
Think that ever happens? Yes, it does.
So what'd you think of the lanes tonight? How'd you think they broke down and everything? What'd you see tonight, Larry?
I thought your pair, there was transition. I really thought you, and I don't say this because you bowl bad, I thought you'd bowl better. The little hang spot on 14 got you for about 60, 70 pins.
Yeah.
And 13 hooked a little more, but when you did get it in on the 4-bagger, I didn't think it would jump for big tonk. I thought it would set maybe a 4-pin, and it just did a little dip at the last second. But
His pair's always been tricky, Larry.
Well,
like I said,
the 13 and 14, the topography in this facility, being 50 years old and 20-year-old panels, they're all a little different. But that's what makes it good. That's what makes it a little challenging. Not every lane is the same. You do have to play them a little different. Obviously, there's transition. And obviously, the pin carry is not that easy.
No.
So a 900 for 4, 870, 880, 860, that's good bowling here.
Absolutely.
You pop, last week Brandon Williams had 969 and Keith Fuller had 1006. Those are the 2 highest scores of the year in the league, I believe. I don't think. Did you have any higher than that? You ever beat?
I think I had a 980 at one point.
Did you have a 980
one
week?
It was the first week on the 40. I had a good look.
On a 40-foot pattern.
Yeah, and it was
930 the first week I bowled on this pattern.
I tell you, it's this pattern isn't the easiest pattern. It doesn't, it's just a little tricky. It's got, it's not obviously the U.S. Open, but it's definitely not,
We don't want to make them impossible. People got to go to work in the morning. They come in here and bowl and shoot 640 for 4. It's a long ride home. We don't want to do that. We're not interested in proving who here is can average 202. It ain't gonna work. Well, we're gonna close it down.
Yeah, I think it's time to close it down, Larry. What's your final thoughts, Larry? Give us your final thoughts.
Larry's ponderings.
Yes, this is unique for me. If I had somebody else in the booth with me, or 2, I wouldn't have to talk so much. But unfortunately, with you guys bowling, and me being the only one in here, I have to babble for an hour and a half, which I feel a little funny about. But I think as the bowling season goes on, we're going to have some other guests that will definitely share the microphone. I certainly hope so.
Absolutely.
And get some other insights to the sport and scratch bowling. But again, I want to thank you guys for coming up. Congratulations. Nice to see you guys get a win.
Thank you,
Paul,
man.
nice to see you win, Paul.
Thank you.
It's my neighbor, Paul.
Yes, thanks.
Dozer.
Yeah.
The bulldozer.
The bulldozer.
He bulldozed in that second game with the
And on
269.
behalf of everybody here at Suburban Lanes, for those of you that listened tonight, thank you so much for coming aboard and listening and watching and supporting bowling. And we'll be talking to you again on September 7th for the opening ceremonies of the Morgantown Scratch Classic. 16 teams, about a $53,000 prize fund, and we'll be live streaming quite a bit of that action over the next bowling season. So we want to thank all of you again for listening and watching, and good luck and good bowling.